What's good? This is Questlove of the legendary Roots crew, straight from Philadelphia, and you are watching The Music.
What's been your favourite moment of Fall so far?
Jesus, it's been such a whirlwind. You know, for the Roots to go from like 230 shows a year to only doing like maybe 45 shows a year. Now that we do less shows than we've ever have, you kind of have a bigger appreciation for what's around you. Whereas, you know, before it was just like, what city are we in? Oh, really? Brisbane? Hey, what city are we in? Sydney? Melbourne? You know, Perth? It's like you don't, because it's so ingrained in you, you don't take time to appreciate it. But now that we do less work than ever because of our television show, we appreciate it now. Not to mention, we've always been dying to do festivals over here because we felt like doing festivals are how you build your fan base over here. You know, we've heard stories about there was a time period in like the late 90s, early 2000s in which cats like Ben Harper, the Black Eyed Peas, those cats at, you know, at one point we were a bigger draw than them in like parts of Europe and the States. Funny considering where the Black Eyed Peas are now in history. But yeah, at one point the whole big thing was like, yo, guess what? In Australia, the Black Eyed Peas are bigger than the Roots. They're like, get out of here, you lying. They ain't bigger than y'all. I know, right? The Black Eyed Peas, the little Black Eyed Peas. But we found out that, you know, they played Big Day Out and all these types of festivals over here, and really built their fan base. And so, unfortunately, like we came here just going straight to clubs, which was cool based on our popularity. But now, I feel like we're doing it the right way now. We just never had a chance to come over here to do festivals, and so now we're doing a little backwards. It's like 20 years after the fact, but we're finally introducing ourselves to.
Speaking of like how popular you guys have been, you've been called the world's greatest backing band. How do you respond to something like that? Because you're not just a backing band.
I mean, we're all things to all people, you know. I mean, to some people, we are Jimmy Fallon's band. To some people,
what was it like collaborating with Betty Wright?
No.
How did that come about?
She, well, because of our connection, I first worked with Betty when I produced Josh Stone's first album project. Back when Josh was 15, 16 years old, I was commissioned to cover the White Stripes' Fell in Love with a Girl for her debut record. And Betty Wright was her mentor, her teacher. So with the S-Curve label, they asked us to produce the record. And the cool thing about being in the Jimmy in that environment at 30 Rock backstage is, you know, our dressing room is basically a studio now. It's a full-fledged studio. So what happens is, being on that show cuts out the middleman. You don't have to call the lawyer and the manager and the label anymore to see if, can da-da-da work with us, or can this particular artist work with us. We can now just approach the artist and say, hey, we're fans of your work. And that's how it works. And, you know, with Joanna Newsom, that's how it works. And with Jim James of My Morning Jacket, that's how it worked. When Elvis Costello visited Late Night, that's how it worked with him. And the same with Betty Wright. Like, you know, these artists come through, and then you collaborate. That's how it worked with Booker T. You know, they come on the show, we talk, we say, hey, but our dressing room's a studio. Really? Yeah. And what do you want to make a record? Well, yeah, let's do that. And the next thing you know, it's a weird cramped environment, but
Is it it allow you to make the music you want to make now?
Absolutely.
Like having that access and having that infrastructure.
I've never been that artist. Like it's funny because we'll show some artists our room. I remember once it took Mariah Carey a few seconds to really comprehend that this is the place where we actually record our albums. It's like, how do you? I was like, yeah, the album we did with John Legend, this room. It's like, it's so tiny and cramped. I mean, there's no environment that we're allergic to that we can't create. This very trailer that we're in, like, this to me could be this would be a dream recording room. Well, minus the glass because the sound bounces, but I could turn any room into a great recording space because of my knowledge of engineering and stuff. But to me, as long as people are willing and open to create, I'm always game to do something.
So you were quite vocal about the Trayvon Martin case. How do you feel Facebook and social media is working to give us a platform to speak our minds and have it read by other people? Do you think it's helping or a hindrance? Where do you see its role?
I mean, it depends because everyone now has an opinion. So that's one of the slight dangers of it. I mean, I've always used social media as a means to communicate. Like, way before Facebook and Twitter, I had okplayer.com, the Roots website, simply because, I'd go to, back when the internet was first just rolling, like 96, 97, 98, you go on REM's website, Michael Stipe's talking to fans directly, Beastie Bands communicate, Beastie Boys...
What kind of response have you been getting from people about your comments on Trayvon Martin?
Well, a lot of them are, they kind of, they were open, because the Trayvon Martin thing was like, it was just a highly emotional time, and it was kind of like a confessional for either a priest or a psychiatrist, like, it's like a therapy session. And a lot of people could relate to it, which I was actually shocked about because, one of the things that I expressed was the fact that in my position, it's really hard to get people to see you as just a meat and potatoes human being, just in terms of like, don't think that I don't have hard days because of what I do for a living. So sometimes I have a fear of expressing that vulnerability simply because you run the risk of people dismissing it as a first world problem, or here's the world's tiniest violin, or fake tears, that type of thing. But people seem to understand. I mean, right now in America, it's just we're on the edge of a detonating, stick of dynamite about to go out, and people are running frantically to try and extinguish it. But I guess for people like me, it benefits. Social media can be a help because, despite the fact that we're headlining here tonight, which I'm shocked, I'm like, Vampire Weekend made Album of the Century this year, and we're going on after Vampire Weekend. What's good? I thought someone was pulling the wool over my eyes, but I think that I think that it offers you an audience that otherwise wouldn't hear you.
Working in that tight space with such a large group of guys, has the band just become a big family? Like, you guys go out to Christmas dinners and... I once told this story about
we were on tour with the Red Hot Chili Peppers back in 2004, and I was telling my manager, well, the first night of the tour, the four of them actually got in a huddle in front of the drum set and got in a magic circle, and they were just talking. It's like between songs. And so maybe the third or fourth night, I asked Flea, I was like, yo, what do y'all talk about every night when y'all in front of the drum set? And he's like, man, you know, we talk about what we had for dinner that day, or if we got to play some ball, or, you know, certain jam that we did in the dressing room. And I was like, wait, what are y'all talking about? I said, you know, just talking about stuff. And I was like, oh man, I thought y'all were talking about like something important, like the set list or the light guys messing up on stage left. And he's like, nah, man. He's like, you just gotta understand, like, you know, we're a punk band from LA that somehow found itself in a position 30 years down the line to sell out a stadium with 90,000 people in it. And sometimes you just want to revel in that moment and just enjoy it. Like, artists don't get to just stand on stage and take it in. They like perform their songs and then they get off stage. And I thought of that, and I told my manager that, and he's like, well, you know, they also like each other. And I was like, well, what do you mean? He's like, you guys don't like each other. And I was like, what are you talking about? We like each other. He says, no, you guys are always with each other, but you guys don't like each other. Like, you come here 10 minutes before a show, you know, you hang in your corner, da-da-da hangs in their corner, and then, you know, that chemistry shows. Like, you guys don't have any chemistry. You guys don't talk to each other. You're not friends anymore. He's like, I'm not going to understand it. Y'all been together for 17 years. And he said that, and that really, really bothered me. So I guess like around 2007, that just started to change. And we started just doing more family stuff together. And now I will say that in the 20-year history of this band, this is probably the absolutely most fun that we've ever had as a unit. Like, it's almost too much fun, because now it's like the inside joke between 8 individuals on stage and kind of leaving the audience out of the fun. But, you know, I enjoy it now more than ever.
So you've had 20 years. What do you expect for next year? What can people expect from the Roots even?
The week that I loathe the most in life is always the last week of any given calendar year. Like, this is when this last week of December, this is when I start speculating. 2014, I wonder if this is going to be the end of the Roots, or, you know, kids born in 1994 are now going to be allowed to go to nightclubs. Like, can I play Wu-Tang songs that are older than the kids that are going to the, like, you know, I start panic speculating about what the future holds. And, you know, as a historian, you know, the fourth year is always the most powerful musical year of any decade. I mean, 64 was the British invasion. 74 was just the development of, like, a lot of the great funk and soul records of the 70s. 84 was, you know, probably the biggest pop post-MTV explosion. 94 is the last year of Cobain's life. Like, so every fourth year, you know, of any decade has defined music. And so, I mean, I wonder, like, the record that we're going to release, is it going to be powerful or not? So, you know.